Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. In 1977, when college entrance exams were reinstated, I gave up my own chance to study so I could take care of our family. I worked hard to give my husband, Ethan Lewis, the opportunity to focus entirely on his education. When he was finally accepted into college, I continued to support him financially, managing everything at home so he could study in peace. I took care of his elderly parents, raised our children, and kept the household running. 15 years later, after Ethan completed his service at the border and was transferred back to our hometown, I discovered the shocking truth. He had another family. My in-laws told me to leave, saying their family had only one son in 3 generations and couldn't risk not having a male heir. My sister-in-law mocked me, saying I was too old and unworthy of her brother, now a government official. Ethan looked at me coldly and said just one sentence. "We have nothing to say to each other anymore." That rainy night, they drove me out of the house. I stumbled in the darkness, fell into the water, and never came out again. If I could live my life over, I would never tie myself to that unfaithful man. I would pass the college entrance exam, escape that tiny village, and seize every chance to rise higher and fly farther. In the 1980s, in a small village called Maple Creek, a mysterious case occurred. A poorly dressed woman was found drowned in a muddy ditch. Her death was so gruesome that no one dared to come near. The rain had just stopped, and the police couldn't find a single clue. The woman was buried hastily, and no one cared. From above, I watched my own body being pulled from the water. My husband, Ethan Lewis, stood to the side holding Emma Moore, watching as if it were all a show. His family stayed far away, their faces full of disgust. I had given my entire life to the Lewis family only to die in such a miserable way. When I opened my eyes again, I saw a tiny baby girl wrapped in a diaper beside me. Could it be that I had come back to life? "It's just a bag of brown sugar," someone scolded angrily. Emma's husband died protecting the co-op's property. He's a hero. The whole team has to take care of her. Now she's sick and just wants a little brown sugar. Do you have to be so stingy? The angry voice of my husband, Ethan Lewis, rang in my ears. But my mind was still trapped in the memory of that rainy night. Of the 3 great unfilial acts my mother-in-law had said, not having a son is the worst. It's your fault for not giving birth to one. Look at yourself. People might even mistake you for my brother's mother. You have no education, no beauty. Whenever you go out, you embarrass me. Our marriage was arranged. There was no love between you and Ethan from the start, and now there's nothing left to say. Just go. Those cruel words echoed endlessly in my head. I couldn't believe it. Just because Emma Moore said she didn't like me, my in-laws, the very people I had served for more than half my life, and the husband I had supported through school, all turned their backs on me, throwing me out into the rain. Because of them, I fell into the water and died. I pinched my arm hard, and the sharp pain told me this was real. I had truly been reborn. Ethan was still talking non-stop, full of self-righteousness. When I looked at him carefully, I realized his face was still young, his expression gentle and scholarly, just like before. He had graduated from college and been assigned to Colorado as a government official. Somehow, he had managed to take Emma out of the village, marry her, and have a child with her. Meanwhile, I had stayed behind, taking care of everything alone, waiting for him year after year. Yet, he refused to divorce me, leaving me to serve his family until I was completely worn down. When he noticed me staring, Ethan straightened his back and said in a self-important tone, "I'm uniting the people. That's called progress. You went to school too, didn't you? How can you still think so backwardly? Emma and I are just comrades. Nothing more. There's nothing dirty going on like you think." Ethan said I was blind to ever believe that because I read books I'd understand reason. "I never expected you to turn into such a jealous woman. Acting out like this, Grace, just makes me look down on you." Back then, I had just given birth to his child, and he wouldn't even buy me an egg. It was my mother, heartbroken for her daughter, who spent a large sum to buy me a bag of brown sugar to restore my strength. Yet, when Emma Moore caught a light cold and coughed a few times in front of Ethan that same night, he took the unopened bag of brown sugar straight to her. The next day, Emma Moore came to our house with a few pears for my in-laws. They were delighted and couldn't stop praising her for being so considerate. Ethan eagerly gave up his seat for her. "Thank you for bringing me the brown sugar, Ethan," she said sweetly. "I feel so much better today. My energy's back." Then she leaned toward him, acting coy and charming. Ethan laughed out loud, his eyes soft and tender, as if they were a real couple. And there I was, an outsider, watching them be happy together. Ethan didn't even realize his gaze never left her. But I knew the truth. It wasn't just about a bag of brown sugar. That day, as Emma Moore sat by the bed, I gently stroked Ethan's pillow as if I were caressing him. "Did you know, Grace?" Emma said with a smirk. "When you were giving birth, Ethan took me to the movies." I froze, pain and despair surging through me. While I was risking my life to bear his child, my husband was at the movies with another woman. How absurd. How could Emma Moore openly provoke me like this? "Ethan always wanted to marry me," she said. "I'm still the one in his heart." In a simple countryside like this, I couldn't tell anyone. All I could do was swallow the bitterness. What else could I do? My newborn cried, red-faced, hungry for milk. Divorce was considered a deep shame. At that time I was still foolish, hoping Ethan would change his ways. But now I had been reborn. I wouldn't waste another word on a hypocrite like him. I looked up at the ceiling covered in old newspapers. On one of them, big letters read 1976. It reminded me, next year, 1977, the college entrance exams would be reinstated. This time I absolutely wouldn't waste my life for this family, or for that treacherous man. It was harvest season. Everyone in Maple Creek was busy in the fields. In my previous life, because I had given birth to a girl, my in-laws despised me and sent me back to work in the fields very early. But this time I wasn't so foolish anymore. "Grace, one day off is enough," my mother-in-law snapped. "Get up and cook breakfast. After we eat, we still have to go to the fields." It wasn't even 5 o'clock in the morning and she was already yelling at me. I stayed in bed without moving. If someone wanted to cook, let them cook. Even someone who had just given birth gets 10 days of rest. Why shouldn't I? Beside me, Ethan had woken up too. Irritated, he kicked me. "Get up. Mom told you to make breakfast." I held my baby to my chest to nurse her. "She's hungry. Why don't you feed her so I can go down and cook?" In the end, my mother-in-law cooked breakfast herself. As we were all eating, the widowed neighbor Emma Moore appeared at the door. "Good morning, ma'am. Are you all having breakfast? My family's harvesting corn today. I'd like to ask Ethan to come help." "Sure, Emma. I'll come right after I finish eating," Ethan replied with a bright smile. It was rare for me to see him treat someone so gently. I spoke up as a reminder. "Today, we still have to take little Ben for his vaccinations. I told you last night after we eat we'll go straight there. Oh, and don't forget to bring money so we can buy some formula. I'm malnourished and don't have enough milk for her." In my previous life, after we were married, Ethan had never once handed me his wages. I had been so foolish, never asking for anything. Thinking about it now, who knows which woman ended up with that money. Emma Moore's face turned dark instantly. Ethan quickly tried to make an excuse. "We can go tomorrow instead. A one-day delay won't hurt." "I don't have enough cash today." I shot back at once. "This vaccination was supposed to be done 3 days ago. You know how important it is. Are you even our baby's real father? You got paid yesterday. Where's the money?" Emma rushed in, trying to steer the conversation away. "Grace, Ethan just wanted to help me. Maybe you could take the baby for the shot first. When he has time, we'll sort everything out later." Those words clearly pleased Ethan. His expression softened immediately. "It's fine," he said. "I'll help her harvest corn first. She's a woman working alone. How could she manage without help?" Emma looked at him with eyes full of meaning and he smiled back. The two of them openly exchanged flirtatious glances right in front of me, as if I were invisible. I let out a cold laugh. "Ethan Lewis, you're so understanding of everyone else. Why have you never cared about me? Who is your wife here? You can't even spare money for your own child's vaccination." I asked again. "Where's your salary?" At that moment, my 6-year-old sister-in-law blurted out, "Big brother gave the money to Miss Emma." In my previous life, it had been exactly the same. My sister-in-law had accidentally exposed the truth. I only wanted the money to care for my child, so I gently suggested Emma return it for now. Even though I spoke politely, she filled her eyes with tears as if I were bullying her. In the end, I got a heavy slap from Ethan. The first time in my life anyone had ever struck me. "You shrew," he barked. "It's just a neighbor borrowing a little money, and you make a scene even insulting her. Apologize to Emma right now." My father-in-law scolded me too. "Why are you so unreasonable? Neighbors helping each other. What's wrong with that? And you even made a widow cry." My mother-in-law chimed in, blaming me as well. But what was my crime? That I dared to ask for the money to vaccinate our child? My face burned and swelled from the slap. Yet Ethan didn't even look at me. He rushed to comfort Emma more instead. In this life, I no longer bothered to argue. I just drank my porridge silently. Emma kept her head bowed, fidgeting, pretending to be pitiful. Ethan spoke with a pained look. Emma was sick that day. She had no income, so I gave her money to see a doctor. Neighbors helping each other. What's wrong with that? This isn't her fault. I gave the money willingly. If you must blame someone, blame me. Emma immediately echoed him. Grace, it's my fault. I only borrowed the money to see a doctor. Once I sell my corn, I'll pay you back. Please don't be angry. Ethan waved his hand quickly. It's fine. No rush. I wasn't angry. In fact, I even smiled. What eyes of yours see me angry? Ethan Lewis, you say this month's wages were lent out. What about last month's? Also lent? Or have you given away all your wages these past years? No wonder Dad's hospital bills, the money for seeds and fertilizer still aren't paid off. I even had to cover your sister's school fees. And you lied to me saying you were saving money. Well then, where's the savings book? I've never even seen it. After saying that, I picked up my baby and went into our room, ignoring everyone's embarrassed stares. My in-laws had no idea Ethan was in debt outside. In my previous life, because I loved him, I believed his promise that he was saving up so we could build a house and move out on our own. Because of that, no matter how hard it was, I clenched my teeth and paid off his debts for him. And what did I get in return? Not a happy home, but a stack of values. In this life, I would expose everything from the start. Now with my father-in-law sick and unable to earn, the whole family depended on Ethan's salary. I didn't believe my in-laws could continue to turn a blind eye when their son was handing over all the household money to another woman. I decided from that moment on that not a single cent would come from me. Let them tear each other apart if they wanted. In the end, Ethan had to borrow money to take our baby for the vaccination and, of course, to buy formula too. After being scolded by his parents, he temporarily changed his behavior. Outside of work, he went to the fields to help with the harvest. Every day, he acted busy and diligent like a model husband. He even poured me hot water at night while I was nursing the baby. In my previous life, I might have been moved to tears, but this time I had already seen through his hypocrisy. Sure enough, it only took a few days before he opened his mouth to ask for money again. The fertilizer seller at the end of the village is demanding payment. Take the money and pay him. I'm still recovering from childbirth. I'm not working. Where would I get money? I said. Don't you have a little savings? Pay it first. I'll repay you next month after I get my wages. You forgot, I said calmly. When I gave birth, I had to pay the hospital fees. And these past years, have you given me a single dollar? Where's the money you were saving? His reply made me laugh coldly. You have a salary. You can take care of yourself, he said. But Emma doesn't have a job. She can't support herself. Could you really let her starve? Then go ahead and keep taking care of her, I said. But can you really watch your own family eat chaff and weeds? He angrily yanked the curtain aside and stormed out. I heard my in-laws whispering to him in the next room. Well, did she give you the money? No, he muttered. She said she used it all when she gave birth. A wife and child who can't be counted on, his father said. Now that I can't work anymore, the whole family depends on you, Ethan. On payday, Emma Moore was already waiting at the end of the alley, blocking Ethan's path. She put on a weak, pitiful tone. Ethan, why have you been avoiding me lately? What did I do wrong? Are you tired of me now? You looked a little guilty. No, don't misunderstand. I've just been busy at home and working overtime at the factory. I didn't mean to avoid you. You say you're not avoiding me, but now you don't even dare look at me. Are you really going to abandon me? She asked, her eyes full of reproach. She paused and then said carefully, Ethan, it's time to buy coal again. Today you got paid. She didn't finish, but her eyes said everything. Ethan quickly reassured her. Don't worry, Emma. I won't abandon you. This month's salary went to pay debts, but next month I'll work extra hours and I'll definitely give you money. Hearing that, Emma smiled with satisfaction. I knew you still cared about me. Ethan lowered his head and shuffled back home. Every time he gave Emma more money and saw the worship and gratitude in her eyes, he felt like a savior. He enjoyed that feeling. He couldn't stand seeing Emma disappointed. He'd probably have to ask the foreman for more overtime. I stepped out slowly with my baby in my arms. Emma didn't expect me to be standing there, having heard the entire conversation. Her face flushed red. She coughed lightly and glanced around to make sure no one else was there. Don't get too cocky, she said. Sooner or later, his salary and even your husband will be mine. I gently rocked my baby and sneered. You dare seduce the baby's father right in front of her? Aren't you afraid lightning will strike you down? Emma gritted her teeth. People have to look out for themselves or heaven will destroy them. My husband died young. I have no other choice. Don't blame me. The wicked always find excuses to justify their actions. But I didn't care anymore. The man you like, I'll give him to you, I said coldly. Oh, and I just heard some very interesting news. They say the college entrance exams will be reinstated next year. If that's true, Ethan and I will definitely take them. When we both get into college, I told her. Do you think I'll let him come back to see you? Even if he does, do you really think you're worthy of a college student? Emma Moore stared at me in disbelief. What are you saying? Ethan Lewis would never abandon me. You're just trying to break us apart. What are you plotting? I burst out laughing. I'm just reminding you. Don't believe me? Then wait and see. No matter how deep your so-called love is, it can't compare to his future prospects. Want to test it? Without waiting for her answer, I picked up my baby and walked away. Not long after, rumors about Ethan secretly supporting Emma spread all over Maple Creek. Look, that's Ethan Lewis, people whispered. They say he gives all his wages to Emma Moore. His wife doesn't get a cent. How many years has Emma been widowed now? Has Ethan been supporting her all this time? Doesn't his wife know? Their houses are so close. Maybe they've been living together in secret. Can you believe it? Used to be men would take a second wife. Now they just keep the neighbor instead. Emma's beautiful, sure, but Ethan's wife isn't bad either. She's educated. She's got a stable job. What's that guy thinking? On the road, as Ethan took me to my parents' house, we both heard the gossip clearly. In the countryside, no one hesitated to speak openly about anything. Ethan's face turned dark. He fumbled for an explanation. Don't listen to those gossipy women spreading lies. I gave all my wages to Dad. You know that. I sneered. Didn't you advance 2 months' wages from the foreman? Think you can make it up with overtime? Careful. You'll wear yourself out. His face flushed bright red. How do you know? I ran into the foreman at my office a few days ago, I said. He told me to advise you to rest and not overwork yourself. Ethan stopped pretending. I had no choice. Emma doesn't have money to buy coal for heat. How could I let her freeze to death? I stopped and looked him straight in the eye. If you really want to take care of her for the rest of your life, then let's divorce. You're exhausted like this, and I've lost all interest in living with you. Ethan grabbed my hand nervously. You're overthinking. There's nothing improper between me and her. We've never crossed the line. Do you really need to fuss over a widow? I gave a cold laugh. Ethan Lewis, you still can't let her go. Believe me, sooner or later we will get divorced. Ethan fell silent, lost in thought. After dropping me off at my parents' house, he left immediately. I asked my mother to call my cousin over so we could discuss how to earn money. It was spring now. I needed to prepare in advance for tuition and living expenses. This was my way out. With wages so low, saving bit by bit would never be enough. So my cousin and I discussed buying a peanut shelling machine. I would put up the money and he would provide the labor. We'd split the profit 50-50. In our village, almost everyone shelled peanuts by hand. It was a job that consumed huge amounts of time and energy. In my previous life, because our wages weren't enough to support the family, I'd shelled peanuts day and night to sell for extra cash. The result was early presbyopia, deformed fingers, and aching legs that couldn't straighten. In this life, I had neither the time nor the desire to destroy my health like that. Machines had higher productivity and earned money faster. In the spring of 1977, the news of the reinstatement of the college entrance exams was finally confirmed. Ethan was visibly thrilled, coming home every day with a smile as bright as a flower. One evening, while I lay in bed reading the new textbooks I had just bought, he walked over in surprise and flipped through my book. "You're planning to take the college entrance exam too?" "Of course," I said. "Going to college has always been my dream. I already told you before, didn't I? Have you forgotten?" I said, "Besides, if both of us get into college, our child will have a better start in life." "But won't it affect your work?" he asked. "Of course not. I'll work during the day and study at night. You want to take the exam too, don't you? Let's both work hard together." Ethan fell silent for a moment as if remembering something. The truth was there had once been affection between us. When we first met through a matchmaker, we thought we were a good fit. We shared interests, shared ideals, and always had endless things to talk about, discussing the world beyond our small town, the progress of society, and the future ahead of us. But those happy days didn't last long. Gradually, Ethan became fascinated by our neighbor, Emma Moore. He was captivated by her admiration and slowly forgot his own ideals. If the college entrance exams hadn't suddenly been reinstated, he probably would have settled for being just another factory worker in a small town. A few days later, Ethan asked me to go watch a movie with him, one of those outdoor screenings. I didn't refuse. Afterward, we walked home together along the quiet village road. It was the kind of moment I had once longed for in my previous life but never had. Ethan took out an envelope filled with his wages and handed it to me. "This is my pay for this month. Take it. Buy yourself some new clothes or something." I shook my head. "Keep it. The exams are coming up. Use it to buy books. Whatever's left, save it." His face stiffened for a moment, clearly caught off guard by my refusal. After a long pause, he said, "I've been thinking about something, but I'm not sure if I should say it." I smirked. So it had finally come to this. Let's see how he planned to talk me into supporting him again in this lifetime. "Go ahead." "I'm listening," I said. Ethan hesitated, then spoke carefully. "You see, my job's been really busy lately. I've been working extra shifts every night. No time to study at all. But I used to be a top student. If I could just take some time off to review, I'm sure I'd pass. So, I was thinking of quitting my job to focus on studying full-time." I feigned surprise. "And what about your family then? Your father just had a mild stroke and can't work. He needs regular acupuncture treatments. Your sister's still in school. Her tuition and living expenses aren't small either." Ethan frowned and sighed heavily. "Is it really impossible to balance dreams and reality? Am I supposed to spend my whole life buried here?" That was his favorite trick, playing the self-pity card and waiting for me to step in. In my previous life, every time he spoke like that, I'd automatically take on all the burdens myself, doing everything I could to help him chase his dream. But now I just stayed silent and watched him act. When I didn't respond, Ethan cleared his throat awkwardly and tried again. "Maybe you shouldn't take the exam. You could just focus on working. I'll find you a part-time job. That way, with 2 incomes, we'll have enough to support the whole family. Don't worry. Once I get into college and find a good job, the first person I'll bring to live a better life will be you." Exactly like before. Those same sugar-coated lies. Anger burned inside me, but I forced myself to stay calm and asked, "If you quit your job, what about Emma Moore?" Ethan glanced at me and said casually, "I'll give her my job. Once she has work, she can support herself." Hearing that, I couldn't hold back anymore. "You've been working for years and never given me a single cent," I snapped. "Now you want me to work 2 jobs to support your entire family, and you're planning to hand your job over to your lover? If you're that poor, why not have her pay for your education too? You're quite the schemer, aren't you?" Caught off guard by my words, Ethan flushed with embarrassment. After a long silence, he managed to mutter, "Why have you become so calculating lately?" I ignored him and walked away. I had endured 2 lifetimes of empty promises. And in the end, the one who got to move to the city and live in comfort had been Emma Moore. In my past life, after I foolishly agreed to help him, I worked during the day and stayed up through the nights shelling peanuts. My hands had been worn raw over and over again until the skin split and eventually my fingers swelled and became misshapen. Later, when my father-in-law was paralyzed on one side, I was afraid it would affect Ethan's studies. So, every week I took him to the hospital myself 50 kilometers each way. I cared for the children, my sister-in-law, and the entire household. I never once asked Ethan to help. And yet when he finally became successful, the one who enjoyed the good life beside him was a young, beautiful wife. While I had grown old and haggard, my face covered in wrinkles. I would never forget the day Emma Moore came back arm in arm with Ethan Lewis, dressed in a fine, elegant dress, her eyes full of pride. Compared to her, I looked like a beggar. On my way home that day, as I passed the entrance to the alley, I saw Emma sitting by her doorway. I glanced behind me. Ethan hadn't caught up yet. When she saw me approaching, she stood up immediately, her eyes cold and sharp. "Stop staring. I've been waiting for you," she said. I raised an eyebrow and gave a faint smile. "Waiting for me? I thought you were waiting for Ethan Lewis." Dropping her fake politeness, Emma went straight to the point. "When are you two getting divorced?" It was clear that Ethan's plan to take the college entrance exam had made her impatient. I answered calmly, "Divorce? I already brought it up, but Ethan refused." "You're asking the wrong person." Anna's face darkened. "That's impossible. You must be the one clinging to him and refusing to let go." I stepped closer until she flinched and backed away. "I need to get back to my reading. I don't have time to chat. If Ethan agrees to a divorce, I'll gladly cooperate. Everything depends on your ability." With that, I turned and walked away. If Ethan was still hesitating, I'd help him make up his mind faster. Judging by the look in Emma's eyes, it seemed she had already begun to take action. Meanwhile, I continued to study day and night under the dim lamp. After working extra shifts for a month straight, Ethan finally got a night off. I hadn't even opened my book when I heard my mother-in-law gossiping about how Emma Moore was about to remarry. Since the day I'd mentioned divorce and Ethan refused, he had behaved himself, rarely visiting her anymore. But this time the news unsettled him completely. That whole evening, he sat holding his book without turning a single page. When midnight came and he thought I was asleep, he quietly got out of bed and slipped out to find Emma Moore. Too restless to wait any longer. Under the faint light, Emma sat crying, her face buried in her hands. "What should I do?" she sobbed. "I've been a widow waiting for you all these years, and now you're going off to college with your wife. If you don't want me anymore, then I don't want you either. Tomorrow I'll marry someone else. I don't want to be your burden anymore." Ethan looked lost. "You've never been a burden to me. I want to take care of you. I'm going to college so I can get a better job, so I can give you a good life in the future." Emma's eyes were red and swollen. "And what if you don't go to college? Isn't your job now enough to make money? I just want you to stay here in the village with me." Ethan shook his head. "Once I graduate and find a stable job, I'll come back for you. Don't worry, I won't abandon you." Emma gave a bitter laugh, tears still streaming down her face. "I don't believe men anymore. You all talk sweetly now, but when the time comes, you'll forget everything you promised." Ethan ran his hands through his hair in frustration. "Then what do you want me to do?" Emma wiped her tears. "Either I marry someone else or you marry me. I'm giving you 3 days to decide." Ethan lay awake all night after returning home, staring at his sleeping wife and child while thinking about the woman he couldn't let go of. He didn't know what to do. 3 days passed quickly. Emma waited and waited but received no answer. Furious, she agreed to meet a man from a neighboring village. Unfortunately, fate wasn't kind to her. The man turned out to be a scoundrel. But luckily for her, she had chosen to meet him on the same road Ethan took when coming home from work. The moment they met, the man tried to grab her hand. Emma Moore struggled and refused to give in as the man tried to grab her. The two of them wrestled until Ethan happened to pass by. I, along with several neighbors, rushed over. By the time we got there, Ethan and the man were already fighting, both of them bleeding. Emma cried while wiping Ethan's wounds, blaming herself between sobs. "It's all my fault," she said. "I got you hurt." The man spat angrily at her. "If you already have a lover, why'd you agree to meet me? You trying to play me? You're just a cheap woman pretending to be pure." Ethan lunged forward, furious. "Say that again," he shouted. Lay a hand on her again and I'll kill you. Emma hurried to pull him back, but the man only sneered. And who the hell are you? I paid for this date. What's wrong with touching her a bit? Who are you to get involved? If I didn't know better, I'd think you were her husband. Ethan's face went cold. I am her husband. His words exploded through the crowd like thunder on a clear day. Emma immediately threw her arms around him and burst into loud tears. Her sobbing was so dramatic that even some of the onlookers felt touched. I stepped out from among the crowd, calm and steady, and looked straight at him. Then let's go find the village head and get the divorce papers done. Ethan still hesitated while Emma looked at him with tearful devotion. Ethan, she said chokingly, I'll follow you for the rest of my life. If you don't want me, I'd rather die than let anyone else humiliate me. Ethan couldn't take it anymore. He grasped Emma's hand tightly. Don't worry, Emma. I won't let anyone bully you. Then he turned to me. Grace, I've wronged you. I agreed to the divorce. I looked toward one of the women standing nearby. Mrs. Turner, please go tell my mother and his parents. We'll be waiting at the village head's house. Then I turned to the gathered crowd. Everyone here, please witness this. We're divorcing willingly. If either of us regrets it later, don't expect sympathy from anyone in Maple Creek. With my head held high, I walked straight to the village head's house. Ethan's parents came running after us, but nothing could change his decision. My mother, furious, tried to hit him, but Emma threw herself in front of him to shield him. And so, everything ended with a single divorce certificate. I didn't feel sad, only a deep, liberating relief, as if a massive burden had finally been lifted off my shoulders. Ethan didn't even ask for custody of our child, and there was no property to divide. Carrying my baby, with my mother holding a bundle of our clothes, we went back to my parents' home. A few days later, Emma Moore moved into the Lewis house. She had never done any heavy work before. She couldn't carry a bucket of water or haul a bundle of firewood, but to play the role of a good daughter-in-law, she had to try. Her hair was no longer neat, and her once beautiful clothes were now dull and shabby. Her appearance turned messy and greasy, far from the youthful pretty widow she once was. Yes, that was exactly how I used to be in my past life, working in the fields every day, my clothes covered in mud the moment I put them on. Each night when I wanted to heat water to wash my hair, my mother-in-law would scold me for wasting firewood. So, I washed only once every 2 or 3 days, sometimes even a week when I was too busy. Now Emma Moore was living the very life I had once endured. But I was different. I had quit my job. Every day I focused only on 2 things. Studying and working with my cousin to shell peanuts for money. I was busy but full of energy. Thanks to the memories of my previous life, I knew exactly which subjects to focus on. Determined to score high, I didn't skip a single section. My goal was to pass the exam and be admitted to a university in the capital. That had always been my dream. Money in my pocket, a pen in my hand. For the first time in my life, I felt truly free. One afternoon while I was reading at home, Emma Moore came to see me. At first, I thought my mother had exaggerated about how much she'd changed. But when I saw her, I realized it was true. Her skin was shallow and dark, her body heavier and sluggish, her hair tied carelessly in a greasy bun. Her once beautiful clothes were old and faded. There was nothing left of Emma Moore's former charm. The fitted woven blouses she used to love probably didn't even fit her anymore. Her once proud eyes had lost all their confidence and spark. It had only been 6 months, but she looked 10 years older. I glanced at myself instead. My clothes were clean and neatly pressed, my newly sewn canvas shoes spotless, my hair combed smooth, and my whole body brimming with energy. In this lifetime, it seemed our roles had completely reversed. Compared to my previous life, I was the one thriving. Now, what are you doing here? I asked. Emma turned her head, glancing inside my house. I stepped in front of her. What are you looking for? If you've got something to say it here. My daughter is sleeping inside. Her expression hardened with anger. Where's Ethan Lewis? Are you hiding him from me? I laughed softly. Why on earth would I hide him? He's not here. Go look somewhere else. She raised her chin defiantly. I'll have you know he's my husband now. Don't you dare see him again. And don't you dare bring that child around him. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Have you seen me look for him once in the past 6 months? That child is mine. He already abandoned her. He's not worthy of being her father. When we divorced, I honestly hadn't expected that Ethan wouldn't even mention custody. Afterward, he never paid a single cent in child support. Truly a heartless father. She's just a girl, Emma sneered. We'll have sons in the future. Who wants your daughter anyway? If you don't want her, then get out. Your husband's not here. I grabbed her arm and shoved her toward the door. Just then my mother came home. The moment she saw Emma, she snatched up a broom and swung it at her. Shameless woman. You stole someone's husband and still have the nerve to show your face here. Get out of my sight before I lose my temper. Emma ran out of the house, muttering angrily under her breath. Who would want to come here anyway? I came to find my husband, and if I find him, I'll beat him to death. Watching her retreating figure, I turned to my mother. So what's going on with their family now? Another fight. My mother snorted as she swept the yard. What's new about that? Even though we live far away, everyone's talking about it. Ever since they got married, those two fight non-stop. Serves them right. He had such a good, gentle wife before and didn't appreciate her. Now he's stuck with a loud, sharp-tongued woman. That's karma. In short, both of them regretted their marriage. Ethan wanted Emma to help earn money for the family, but she was used to an easy life and couldn't stand hardship. Emma, on the other hand, wanted him to be like before, handing over his entire paycheck to her. But now that he had to support his paralyzed father, there was nothing left to give her. After his father's stroke, their fights grew more frequent. Big arguments every 3 days, small ones every 2. Ethan was under both physical and mental pressure, completely unable to focus on preparing for the college entrance exam. But the exam wouldn't wait for anyone. After the divorce, the first time I saw Ethan again, he looked utterly miserable. His beard was scruffy, his face thin and hollow, like he hadn't had a proper night's sleep in weeks. He was the one who approached me. How have you been? How's the little one now? You remember her? I said coolly, she's fine and so am I. You don't need to worry about us. He looked awkward. Are you taking the exam? Yes, I said. You too. I am, he replied softly. Good luck. Even though in my previous life his family had treated me cruelly, I wasn't the kind of person to step on others when they were down. I simply nodded. From now on, we're no longer friends, just strangers. By the winter of 1977, the national college entrance exams had finally ended. The whole country seemed to awaken with new life. Every profession was reviving, and the world was hungry for talent. I didn't let myself down. I became the top scorer in the entire city, and was admitted to the most prestigious university in the capital. Overjoyed, I ran around the yard laughing while my little girl chased after me, giggling happily. At that moment, I felt that every bit of pain I had endured over 2 lifetimes had been worth it. While my home was filled with joy, the Lewis household was a scene of chaos. Ethan was furiously beating Emma Moore with a stick because his exam score had come back as a 0. He stood there stunned. He knew he hadn't done well, but there was no way his score could truly be 0. After checking the records, he discovered that someone had deliberately changed his registration number, causing his exam to be marked as absent. When Ethan returned home, he went berserk, lashing out at Emma with the stick. She screamed and cried, dodging the blows. You bastard! Don't think I don't know what you're planning, she shouted. You wanted to take the college entrance exam with Grace and go to the same school so you could abandon me, didn't you? I'm the one who changed your number, so what if I did? You're already married. What do you need college for? Weren't you just going to dump me after that? Neighbors gathered around, but no one dared to step in. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot, wild like a mad beast. Finally, exhausted, he dropped the stick and collapsed onto the ground, crying helplessly. Because of Emma Moore's selfishness and jealousy, all his hopes for a better life were destroyed. But the tragedy didn't stop there. That night, Emma suddenly started bleeding. She had been pregnant without knowing it, and Ethan didn't know either. She lost the baby. No one could say for sure whether she would ever be able to conceive again. Ethan was in shock. His mother cried so hard she could barely breathe. She had pinned all her hopes on Emma giving birth to a grandson, but now everything had turned to dust. Whatever chaos erupted in the Lewis household after that, I no longer cared. I didn't even let my mother listen to gossip about them anymore. No matter what, it was all tragedy. Once it had been mine, but now it belonged entirely to the two of them. My mother and I started packing early. We rented out our small plot of land for farming, asked my uncle to keep an eye on the house, and withdrew all my savings to keep them safe. All I had to do was wait for the admission letter to arrive, confirm the registration date, and then I would take my mother and daughter with me to begin a new life. And so I officially stepped into a new chapter of my life. More than 10 years later, I was transferred by the government to serve as a local party secretary. This time I returned to Maple Creek with my husband, my daughter, and my son. My hometown had changed so much. People's lives were better, and prosperity had begun to reach even this once remote village. The winds of reform and progress were finally sweeping across the land. My two children pressed their faces against the car window, excitedly watching the scenery. They had never seen the countryside before, so everything fascinated them. My husband was on the phone with an international business partner, the bulky mobile phone looking small in his large capable hand. When he caught me looking at him, he smiled and gently took my hand in his. From that moment until we arrived in town, he never once let go. All these years, he had remained just as steady and tender. Whenever I needed him, he was always there. Just like when I struggled endlessly over a calculus problem in college, and he had patiently taught me step by step, comforting me so I wouldn't feel discouraged. Or the night our daughter had fallen gravely ill. He carried her on his back all the way to the hospital, soothing both her and me with quiet strength. Having a husband like him truly felt like a blessing from heaven. After a meeting with the city leaders, my team and I set out to inspect the local situation, accompanied by my husband. He was, after all, the investor I had invited to help revitalize the region. If our hometown was to thrive, it needed strong industries, and his forward-thinking vision made him the perfect partner to help rebuild this place. Meanwhile, over at my ex-husband's family home, some people nearby seemed too frightened to even approach. But the moment I saw him, I recognized him right away. The man standing guard at the gate was overweight, his belly bulging, his head bald and shiny. There wasn't a trace left of the confident, handsome man he had once been. Still, with just one glance, I knew it was Ethan Lewis, my ex-husband. Beside him sat a woman chained to the post. She was crouched on the ground, absent-mindedly playing with a pile of leaves like a lost child. Her hair was tangled and filthy, her clothes torn and covered in dirt. When she finally lifted her head, I recognized her instantly. It was Emma Moore. I didn't know what kind of life Ethan and Emma had lived to end up like that, but clearly whatever path they had chosen had led them straight into ruin. After finishing our inspection, we didn't linger. We got back into the car to return to the city. As we drove off, my husband suddenly said, "That man, he's running after us." I turned around. It was Ethan Lewis. He must have recognized me because he was shouting something as he stumbled down the road, waving his arms wildly. But I didn't tell the driver to stop. "Keep going," I said calmly. "We still have more important things to do. There's no reason to stop for a stranger." My husband looked at me for a moment, then nodded. "All right, Grace." Through the rearview mirror, Ethan Lewis grew smaller and smaller until he finally disappeared from sight. As the car sped down the winding country road, the familiar landscape of Maple Creek faded into the distance. The sunlight spilled across the fields, warm and golden, just like the first morning of my new life all those years ago. I closed my eyes and let out a slow breath. The pain, the betrayal, the endless nights of tears, all of it had long been washed away by time. What remained was peace. A quiet, steady kind of peace that came only after walking through fire and surviving it. In the rearview mirror, Ethan Lewis and Emma Moore were no longer there. Their lives had withered into dust, bound by their own choices. I felt no anger toward them anymore, only a faint, distant pity. We had each chosen our own path, and fate had delivered its final judgment. My daughter leaned against me, resting her head on my shoulder. My son was humming softly in the back seat, and my husband, my partner, my anchor, was still holding my hand. In that simple gesture, I felt all the warmth, stability, and love that I had been denied in my past life. Life had finally come full circle. I turned my gaze toward the horizon where the sun dipped low and the world glowed with the soft light of dusk. My voice was barely above a whisper but filled with certainty. This time I lived the way I was meant to live. And for the first time in both my lives, I smiled not from relief or victory, but from the quiet joy of finally being free.